Folks, according to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, only 310 out of every 1,000 sexual assaults are reported to police. Many do not come forward for fear of some kind of retaliation or criminal prosecution. Check out what happened in San Francisco, where the police used a rape victim's DNA, to arrest her for an unrelated property crime. Now she is filing a lawsuit against them. Joining us now from Oakland is her attorney, Adante Pointer, who says the San Francisco Police Department has a practice of placing crime victims' DNA into a permanent database without the victim's knowledge or consent. This is, I'm on a group chat with some other journalists, Adante, and when I posted this story in that group chat, folks were shocked. They were stunned. Folks said, "Christ, that's awful, unreal." That is just, it's like, are you serious?
Unfortunately, we are serious, and it's not unreal. It sounds like it's something that comes from a movie, a sci-fi movie about a dystopian future, when in reality, it is our reality. And it's not just something that's confined to what's happening in San Francisco. This is probably happening in other jurisdictions, other police departments, other cities, other states within this country, in that the government obtains crime victims' DNA or biological information stored in a database and then use it as they see fit and do unconstitutional searches in a way to where they're either trying to match people to crimes or any other government interests that they're pursuing. And so this is something that cannot go on. And, we filed this lawsuit because this courageous lady was willing to come forward and not only bring this to light, but also stand up for the rest of crime victims everywhere else.
So they actually think this is justified?
They certainly did, and in fact, the crime lab director said that this was their routine or daily practice, which essentially asked someone, and the only way you could get into this system, or I should say the way she got into the system, was as a sexual assault survivor. So she was someone who was looking for police protection and instead was violated again and re-victimized by the police in their practices. So, this is standard procedure, and this is what and how they were treating crime victims in San Francisco. And frankly, as I mentioned, there's thousands of other people who had their rights violated who were also in that crime victim database. And I also understand there was a similar lawsuit that was filed in the state of New York.
This reminds me of, we've had these stories where people who have done these ancestry DNAs, and some of these companies have actually shared data with the FBI or other law enforcement agencies.
Yeah, this is a practice that is not just limited to the government, and that just shows the dangers of what they're engaged in. This is a very slippery slope, in that once a person or once a government entity or any entity has your DNA evidence, we are still unlocking the mysteries of DNA. But one thing that we do know is it's one of the most unique identifiers. It's one of the most personal things that you have just by your very existence as a person and as a human. And so as DNA science is becoming more expansive, as corporations find out how they might be able to use it and exploit it or monetize that, as the government finds ways to how to track and monitor and project people's health outcomes in the future, or what they think is your characteristics and the way in which you might behave. There's any number of ways this DNA can be used to impact not only individual people, but also groups of people or target people within society. So we have to be very vigilant and understand that this is something that we cannot, as a supposed civilized society, stand for.
It makes total sense. And we're talking about a property crime? What was it?
Yeah, this was a retail theft. So, we're talking about something that she came to police looking for help in what was, obviously a very low point, a tough, difficult point in her life, having to be a survivor, to only then be victimized by the police years later. No one ever came to her and told her that they were still holding on to this DNA evidence 6 years later. No one ever told her that she could be subject to taking the information that she trusted them with and that they betrayed that trust, and it would be weaponized against her. This is something she only found out about when she was at another difficult point in her life, going through a domestic violence or domestic disturbance situation, and the police show up to her door. She needs the help. Neighbors called for help, and as opposed to ameliorating the situation, the police say, "Hey, you know what? You have an arrest warrant." And it wasn't until she was sitting in jail, unable to make bail, did she find out what this arrest warrant was based upon, and that was DNA evidence that she had given to the police 6 years prior. And so, this has stirred up a whole list of emotions for her because it's forcing her to relive the underlying trauma. And, they've re-victimized her again. And we all know that we as in the African American community, have a very, very, very horrible, or some might say negative, or just the reality of it is we've been targeted by the criminal injustice system for far too long. And so this is just another slight, another slap in the face, another reason why our community has a healthy distrust for police and the criminal justice system.
Just again, unbelievable story that makes no sense. And you're right. I can only imagine how this woman is feeling. Adante Pointer, I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Brianna, I'll start with you. Look, you talk about a slippery slope because I mentioned ancestry. I mentioned, again, when you start giving over, we used to be fingerprints. Now you start giving over your DNA, and then you don't know who these companies are selling your information to and whose hands it is going in.
Right. I've heard it passed before with ancestry, and a lot of people saying, okay, I don't want to know my ancestry. It's not worth it in order for my DNA to be taken. And what they can do with the DNA, right? What the government might, they found the crime, but they might do something that's even more of a slippery slope that's against your rights. And it's just the most overreach of the government in the highest order. And I'm glad that California has created a law to prevent this from happening again. But we definitely need more, I think, federal protections over it, not just state by state, because the government shouldn't be able to take our most precious genetic code, right? We've had people exonerated from realizing that it was the wrong DNA. And so that shouldn't just be freely taken and used against people's wills.
Indeed, and you just sit here in DeMario. I mean, again, a woman gets raped and they're using that DNA to arrest her for a property crime. Wow.
Well, we just dealt with this here at the Justice for Brewer Foundation, dealing with the Tulsa Race Massacre, where the city of Tulsa set up a program that's just a PR pitch, really, and said they found these mass graves that we've been pushing for many years. And they said, oh, we need to get DNA from Black Tulsans and former Black Tulsans so we can try to match who these individuals that we put into the ground in a mass grave. We rang the alarm. Really want to give a shout out to my good friend, Professor Eric Miller at Loyola Marymount University Law School. We actually looked at this, and this is very dangerous for Black people to give their DNA, even involuntarily, or in this case, voluntarily, in the case of our situation, because it does not only impact you as an individual, it impacts your entire family tree, going up the tree and going down the tree. And this DNA databases, they can be hacked. This DNA companies can sell your data to third parties, and the police, as in this situation, can always have access to the DNA evidence through a warrant. So this is very, very troublesome. I really hate that this happened to this young lady to be re-traumatized, but I would say for anyone that's putting your DNA into these commercial third-party vendors, be very, very careful, because you're exposing not only yourself, but your entire family unknowingly.
Mustafa.
This is just another example of how trust continues to be broken with law enforcement. There's no reason for us to believe that they have our best interest at heart. The other part of it, as my sister just shared, is that we now need to see something from the Biden administration. Well, whether it is more than likely nothing's going to happen in the fall, but after the election and as we move into 2023, let's make sure that we actually have a federal law that's in place to address what's happening in this space. And then let's also make sure that the Department of Justice is making sure that police departments across the nation understand, what their responsibilities are. So I'm one who believes you got to have some strong language in place, and then there's got to be real accountability to make sure that it is playing out across the country.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?